Hello and welcome to this Tuesday announcement of what's going to be happening here this week at Washington Middle School. First up is going to be Anime Club. That's going to be tomorrow. This week's viewing is Bunny Drop. It is a beautiful episode of tragedy, rejection, and finally acceptance. Bring a box of Kleenex or two for this one. It gets pretty emotional. I really, really love this one. This is kind of a surprise to me, but it's a very enjoyable one. 6th and 7th graders, listen up. Movie day. It's going to be the 11th of June. You got 3 selections. It should be on your Canvas page to vote which one you want to see. The Super Mario Brothers movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I highly recommend. I did see that one. And also Big Hero 6, which I've also seen. Haven't seen Super Mario Brothers. Latino Alliance, that's going to be today in room 111. Everyone is welcome. We'll see you there. Also, don't forget the Wellness Center on Wednesdays, along with Anime Club. Wednesdays are always busy here at Washington Middle School. See what kind of crafts that Ms. Hanel has planned for you. Also, the WMS STEM Club, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. Also going to be on Wednesday, room 108, which is Ms. Brodeur's room. Talk to your science teacher, find out what's going to be happening this week. Also, the Yearbook Club coming towards the end here at 2:45, 3:45 in room 202 with Ms. Yamanishi. And then finally, the WMS Puzzle Club, room 206, with Ms. Velasco, Ms. Torres, Ms. Edwards. We'll see you there, see what kind of fun puzzles they have. And that's the announcements for this week. Stay tuned for This Week in History with your host, Mr. Simonton. We'll see you later. Hello and welcome once again to another presentation of This Week in History. I am your host as usual, Mr. Simonton. May 19th, 1943, during the Second World War in Europe, Royal Air Force bombers successfully attacked dams in the German Ruhr Valley using an innovative ball-shaped, well actually more like drum-shaped, bouncing bombs that skipped along the water and exploded against the dams. The dams had provided drinking water for 4 million persons, supplied about 75% of electric power for industry in the area. It's kind of an ingenious way that they did it. You can see an example here. The bomber flies the drums being rotated at a high speed, which causes it to bounce along the water. And once it strikes the dam, it rolls down the dam and explodes there in deep water, which causes the water pressure to help rupture the dam. Pretty ingenious invention of how they came about that. May 20th, 1927, Charles Lindbergh, a 25-year-old aviator, took off at 7:52 a.m. from Roosevelt Field, Long Island, in the Spirit of St. Louis. That was his aircraft, attempting to win a $25,000 prize, that's worth a lot of money today, for the first solo nonstop flight between New York City and Paris. 33 hours later, after a 3,600-mile journey, he landed at Le Bourget, Paris, earning the nickname Lucky Lindy and becoming an instant worldwide hero. May 20th, 1932, Amelia Earhart, also a very famous aviator, becomes the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. She departed Newfoundland, Canada at 7 p.m. and landed near Londonderry, Ireland, completing the 2,026-mile flight in about 13 hours. 5 years later, though, along with her navigator Fred Noonan, she disappeared while trying to fly her twin-engine plane around the equator. She was never found. May 21st, 1881, the American Red Cross was founded by Clara Barton. The organization today provides volunteer disaster relief in the United States and abroad. Community services include collecting and distributing donated blood and teaching health and safety classes. Yes, she came to very prominent during the American Civil War when she advocated for sterilization of surgical supplies. May 22, 1972, President Richard Nixon became the first American president to visit Moscow. 4 days later, Nixon and the Soviet Russia's premier, Leonid Brezhnev, signed a pact pledging to freeze nuclear arsenals at current levels. And you can see what they were limited to there on the right-hand side. ABMs are anti-ballistic missiles, so missiles that comes in, you try to shoot it down. That's what an ABM is. An ICBM is an intercontinental ballistic missile designed to knock out cities in a country across the globe. Warheads, you can see, were pretty much even, 5,700 each, and nuclear submarines, which can basically launch those attacks as well from underneath the ocean, are pretty much even at 41 and 42. May 22nd, 1947, Congress approved the Truman Doctrine, assuring U.S. support for Greece and Turkey to prevent the spread of communism from the Soviet Union. Talk about Leonid Brezhnev and Richard Nixon. That happened just a little bit after this. So, yeah. Now with President Putin, they're starting to see that stuff happen again. May 24th, 1844. You can hear it in the background. Telegraph inventor Samuel F.B. Morse sent the first official telegraph message, "What hath God wrought?" from the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. to Baltimore. And what you're hearing being tapped out is the word Morse, M-O-R-S-E. May 25th, 1787, the Constitutional Convention began in Philadelphia with delegates from 7 states forming a quorum, and by September of that year they would have a working document of the Constitution. May 25th, 1994, after 20 years in exile, means he got kicked out of the country, Russian author Alexander Solzhenitsyn returned to his homeland. He had been expelled from Soviet Russia in 1974 after his 3-volume work exposing the Soviet prison camp system, which is called the Gulag Archipelago, which was published in the West. I used to have a copy of that book. It's long since gone. I probably need to find it eBay or A-Books. Birthdays. May 19th, Ho Chi Minh, Vietnamese leader, was born in central Vietnamese village of Kim Liang. In 1930, he organized the Indo-Chinese Communist Party. In 1945, he proclaimed the independence of Vietnam and served as president of North Vietnam from 1945 to 1969. He led the longest and most costly war during the 20th century against the French and then later against the United States. On April 30th, 1975, the city of Saigon was renamed Ho Chi Minh City. On the 19th of May as well, the black nationalist and civil rights activist Malcolm X was born in Omaha, Nebraska. While in prison, he adopted the Islamic religion and after his release in 1952, changed his name to Malcolm X and worked for the Nation of Islam. He later made a pilgrimage to Mecca and became an Orthodox Muslim. Fortunately, he was assassinated while addressing a meeting in Harlem on February 21st, 1965. So the 60s were a very turbulent year. 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. Robert Kennedy was also assassinated. So 1960, very violent years. Next, on the 21st of May, we have Russian physicist and human rights activist Andrei Sakharov. He was born in Moscow. Although he helped construct the first atomic and hydrogen bombs for the Soviet Union, he later denounced the Soviet government and was exiled, we've heard of that before, from 1980 to 1986. He was instrumental in encouraging openness in restrictive communist countries. The 22nd of May, we have German composer Richard Wagner. We're going to hear a little bit more from him here a little bit later. He was born in Leipzig, Germany. He made revolutionary changes in the structure of opera and is best known for The Ring of Nibelung, a series of operas based on old German myths, which include Das Rheingold, Die Valkyrie, or The Ride of the Valkyries, which we're going to hear, Siegfried, and Götterdämmerung. Next, on the 22nd of May, a lot of May 22nds here, Sherlock Holmes creator Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was born in Edinburgh, Scotland. He was deeply interested and lectured on spiritualism, but he's best known for his Sherlock Holmes stories. And finally, on the 22nd of May, we have Sir Laurence Olivier. He was born in Dorking, England, considered one of the most influential actors of the 20th century. He was honored with 9 Academy Award nominations, 3 Oscars, so it means he won 3 out of those 9, 5 Emmy Awards, and a host of other awards. His repertoire included most of the major Shakespearean roles and films such as The Entertainer, Rebecca, Pride and Prejudice, The Boys from Brazil, Marathon Man, which is what I remember for, and also Wuthering Heights. He was knighted in 1947. So that completes This Week in History. I've been your host, Mr. Simonton, and I'm going to leave you with a very stirring rendition of Richard Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries. So we'll see you again next week.